start with you since you're right across the neck.
Yeah.
All right. So, how has camaraderie changed since you started and with women in the shooting sports?
One of the reasons I really like shooting and this industry in general is because of the camaraderie. There's not a lot of other sports that you can be as social and as interactive as you can as this one. So in that sense, I feel like it's always, good camaraderie has always been there. Again, that's the reason that I chose this sport as a profession. 5 years ago, I think people really tried to involve as many new shooters and new industry businesses as they could, and I still think that they do that. Particularly for women, I think we've always tried to band together and help each other out over the years, and now there's just more of us. So girl power, and again, I think it's always been there. So the more the merrier.
Do you see more young women coming into the sport that are following in your footsteps, trying to get to the next level, trying to become a professional in the sport like you are?
Yeah, absolutely. The ladies at this table specifically. In any sport, I think we all try to find that mentor, that hero that we want to look up to and become or strive to, have what they have. So with that being said, the success that all of us have had is becoming more public. It's becoming more visible, and it's the opportunities to do it are becoming more plentiful. Whether that be through equipment or through venues, places to shoot, no matter which type of shooting that you do, the more opportunities they have, the easier that becomes, and the more they want to become or find that mentor in the shooting industry. With that being said, I think it's important to continue to cultivate all of those young women who are looking up to us, because it's kind of an unprecedented path. There's never been that exact set in stone path that they could have taken to get to where we are. We've all kind of taken different roads to get to that top level. So the more roads, the better. And again, I think it's important to cultivate each of them and try and guide them on those roads that we feel were the right ones, so they're not misstepping maybe like we did throughout the years.
Yeah, kind of a follow-up on that as well.
Okay.
As far as youth shooting goes, and the kind of the growth that we've seen with youth shooting communities, with youth shooting groups like the Scholastic Patriotic Program.
Yeah.
And did you ever compete in anything when you were younger, like in high school?
I didn't, but when I first started shooting my first shotgun, I went through the Fish and Game program up in Alaska. So in Alaska, that's kind of the only youth program that we have up there. So in a sense, I did. I didn't do 4-H or SCTP or anything like that. However, when I first started shooting, I don't think that option was as easy to find as it is now. These programs, despite, whether it's 4-H or SCTP or, YESS, any of these programs, they might kind of have different formats and different reasons that kids involve themselves in each of them. But at the end of the day, all of these programs are providing the kids with the ability to go shoot. And that's the most important thing, because the hardest thing to do in this industry is to find a place to do it and the time to do it. So no matter what they're providing in terms of format, whether it's international games or 3-gun or handguns or sporting clays, they're providing them an opportunity to go shoot, period. And it's, booming. The youth program is booming, especially in the southeast region. I'm just bought a house in Savannah, Georgia, and that region in particular in the country. I'm seeing high school teams and the SCTP kids as young as 11, all the way up to 20s in college, and they're growing and growing and growing. I think something that's always been a challenge in this industry is bridging that gap from the really, really young to kind of the young adult. So between that 20s and 30 mark, life happens. We go to school, we have kids, we get married, and I think the challenge is trying to bridge that gap a little bit with the growing youth and getting them to move into some of these associations, whether it's registered sporting plays or Olympic disciplines and things like that. But the more kids, the better. That's the new shooting industry. They're going to be following in your footsteps, and Kim's and Lanny's and Diane's. Sorry about that.
So kind of segueing into that, Diane, you're a legend in the sporting place. You've been around for a very long time. And, I mean, I remember
Thank you. It makes me feel old a little bit.
You might hear about it.
You're just more knowledgeable. That's all. Right?
More
And
knowledge.
With that, how have you seen the sport develop since you began your career?
Wow. So many changes. And to hear Desi speak about it from her perspective and how she's grown up in the sport to how I probably fired my first shot about 45 years ago, if I think about it. You know, but I started in at trap shooting a little bit. I've just seen the number of shooters, not just men but women, just growing exponentially. It's kind of, I look at it as a sport that you want to talk about camaraderie. I have some of my best lifelong friends in this sport, and you know, the whole thing has just grown and blossomed. It's huge. We're seeing people of all ages be involved. It could be 8 to 80 out there enjoying themselves. So many things have happened, and for the tournament competitive shooter that most of we are, things have really evolved. You know, we're competing pretty frequently on an international level and national levels. Something that I never even dreamed of as a young shooter. You know, you didn't even really think about that. You were just having a good time shooting, and it just kind of blossomed and evolved, and the opportunities lend itself to, you know, us being able to compete on this level.
Bigger events, more events.
More events, a lot more events than there used to be.
I remember even when I first started shooting sporting clays back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you know, it's much different. Obviously, I'm not competing with you guys anymore, but looking at the amount of competitions that you have, and then the amount of athletes that are competing in these competitions, and then the scores, the insane scores that y'all are shooting on really hard targets, way harder than anything I ever shot.
It is getting harder and harder. I mean, the shooters are better, and they're getting better, much better at a younger age. Like when we first started, you had to go through the learning curves and try to find your way, and maybe if you were lucky, you found that really good shooting instructor to help you, or maybe my father was instrumental in getting me in the good. Getting me my good basic mechanics down, and you never really realize that until later in life.
But I think a lot of it too is driven by technology.
I was about to say,
when you look at like when I started, there was no internet or cell phone or Facebook or Twitter.
True.
And now we can actually see these kids following us and learning tips and getting ideas instead of just going out to the local gun club and having pops show them how to do it. They're getting the top lessons, top tips, top ideas on how to become successful and be good at these sports, which is something that you just didn't have back in the day when I started. I mean, when I started competing, we didn't have women's trophies.
Yeah,
I remember if you go back and actually currently look on the junior men's skeet trophy at the World Center complex, you'll see my name on the men's trophy. And you know what? The very next year we had a women's trophy. So I mean, there was a lot more of that going on. In those days, we were blazing trails, and I was the only junior. Now we have full teams of juniors. I mean, the sport has really grown exponentially, not just from the technology side, but even on the categories and the opportunities and the venues and like we were saying earlier, with the different organizations that are offering all these programs, reaching out to both women, kids, and youth. I mean, that's what we recognized early on, is that's the future.
Yeah, and
like you said, with the advancing technology. So at your first Olympics, the only opportunity the kids had to watch you was at those Olympics. But now they can see you on social media and things like that, learn from you, and help themselves improve.
And the same with you too at your Olympics too.
That's
where I see Olympian here.
That's where I see you guys.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I see you on the TV.
That's something that has really changed our sport and transcended into the future. And I think a lot of our industry has really grasped that and recognized the importance of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these different types of outreach programs that all of us shooters are doing, because that is the future. That is where we're heading.
And with technology too, products. I mean, inside the industry, a shotgun that you picked up, 15 years ago is not nearly as efficient with, low recoil, free gun. I mean, it's the actual products that the industry is coming out with now. They're getting better.
And that's
easier for a kid to shoot.
And that's ultimately
a tool that they can use.
That technology is ultimately what drove me to look at the Beretta DT11. Why I'm shooting the gun that I'm currently shooting. When you look at the Beretta, the lesser recoil, the technology that they're putting with the internally tapered barrels, running the forcing code, running the full length of the barrel, all that is what drew me to Beretta. And I mean, it's either you can compete against it or you can join it. And that's what I chose to do. I mean, that was my decision, or part of it. And I mean, technology is driving everything from the products that we're shooting to the outreach of getting kids and future generations.
Agreed.
Your gun's changed a little in 45 years?
Slightly.
Well, I like that it's not just one size fits all.
Yeah.
In the back in the day, the firearm fit the 6'2" man, and for us shorter women, it was hard to find a shorter shotgun. Something that fit. And now there's so many options.
Yeah, Beretta just came out with a new women's gun, so I mean,
that's changed drastically in the industry. Just products, period.
Yes. So I mean, and also the idea that it doesn't all have to be pink.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing. I mean, there for a while we saw the trend where everything had to be pink, and I think they're starting to get away from that and realize that we just want to be like everybody else and have the best ability to be able to beat the boys and just have fun, enjoy a day out at the range and compete.
Sure. Obviously, a lot of things have changed.
Yes.
And things are continuing to get better, which is it's an amazing experience. But each one of our experiences has guided us along the direction that we've taken. And there's a lot of outside factors that have an influence on the decisions that we make. So another question for Diane is, how was your law enforcement career, much like my military career made me the man that I am today, how does your law enforcement career affect your trajectory, your plans, your thoughts, just the way that you carry yourself as well as the way you compete?
Well, oddly enough, I was asked that question a lot through the years. I'm since retired. I've been retired. I've been out for 6 years. It goes fast. Don't say anything. But as much as the two don't meet, my career in law enforcement and my shooting of plays don't meet, they do. The discipline that you have and how you conduct yourself and your work ethic, I think go hand in hand with that. And I think I've always been a little bit rigid. No. I look at Desi, I give her a hard time. But anyway, the thought process behind what it takes to actually be a good shooter, and as you guys all know, it takes time. It takes motivation, and that motivation has to come from within. Ben, you know that too. It has to come from within, and you need to have good self-discipline. And I think that went hand in hand with my career too. They kind of married up pretty well, and it's kind of like, for me, it was like these two things go together. As much as they don't, they do. Because of the discipline and being able and wanting to do it and wanting to be able to compete, and it keeps the drive alive.
Well, I think too that having known you for a very long time, you may describe yourself as somewhat rigid at times, but you were never not approachable. And it was always a unique experience getting to meet all the different people that are out there, especially in the sporting clays world, because there are so many types of people that shoot sporting clays. And with me joining the military and shooting for the Army, we had a very strict set of guidelines, like you're saying. It helps develop us and cultivate our thoughts, our beliefs, and the way we hold ourselves. But again, you were always approachable, and you're always willing to be able to describe to all of us youngins running around out there, this is the way you're supposed to hold yourself. Right. This is the way you're supposed to conduct yourself. So you were always somebody that we were able to look up to and know that this is how it's supposed to be done.
Well, I think that happens a lot in a lot of the sports too. I mean, I think there's a lot of mentoring going on from the older shooters, because I remember that as a young shooter, you know, having to go out there and, you know, you'd be put on this squad with all these guys who have like 30, 40 years of experience, and they're like, oh great, we got the kid, you know. But I mean, at the same time too, they took you under your wing and taught you the process and how to act and how to be respectful, responsible. I mean, and the fun thing, I think the great thing about shooting is it's very eclectic. You never know who you're shooting with or who you're going to meet next, and I think that's really the wonderful world of shooting.
And I agree with Kim, the mentors, they're out there.
Yes.
And you know what? And for us, I know we look for a strong woman mentor, and that's true, and that's good. But there's a lot of men out there that are really good mentors.
Yes.
And we've all looked up to in our careers.
Men and
Especially
women.
in my career when I came into law enforcement over 30 years ago. Really, at the time, those numbers, men, you know, predominantly, you know, or still, but predominantly that was the workforce. So I was very fortunate to have good, strong mentorship from men in that area.
You were my mentor. And I just thought you were really cool because you're in law enforcement.
I mean, it's awesome just to be able to get to sit here, and I know we still have a lot of questions left to ask. You know, we can sit here all day and ask questions, but it's really neat to get to sit here with this group of women that have accomplished so much in such a wide variety of things. And yes, we're all in the shooting sports, but between biathlon, between skeet, and Olympics, sporting plays, law enforcement, sporting plays, I mean, you're now making it so much bigger than it was before.
There's more people around the
something we
table.
weren't able to do.
I like it.
And you know, it's really neat that we keep adding more and more knowledge and willpower to grow into shooting sports. So it's very, very neat. So Kim, moving on.
Uh-oh, here we go. My turn, right? In the hot season.
As an Olympic athlete,
Okay.
let's say a stalwart in the last 6 Olympic Games. How have you seen the industry change over the last 5 to 6 years? I'm sure it's going to be a different
Just 5 to
perspective
6.
than the rest of us.
I like how you leave it. Just 5 to 6.
Early, all right?
We were just talking that this is my first SHOT Show was in 1996,
All right.
and I've come every year since. So I mean, I've had a long history in the shooting sports, and definitely there has been a lot of changes. I mean, when I started shooting, like I said earlier, I was the only girl. Like, there wasn't a team, there wasn't squads of women, there wasn't even women's vests. Now we're seeing that change. We're seeing full clothing lines for women. We're seeing full teams and squads of young shooters and of women and even juniors going out to compete. We're also seeing trophies. I remember when I first started shooting, there were trophies that were given out. And what trophies I did win, I actually donated back so that other kids could have a chance to win a trophy, because they didn't have them in those days. And that's not an issue anymore. We're actually seeing scholarships and education. So there have been huge changes in our industry overall, especially for women. I mean, I think a lot of women who started will say, oh, I wore, you know, dad's shirt, or you know, had to go down to the men's section to try to get a camouflage top or pants to go do whatever. I mean, that was how it was. Now we don't have that. We have an actual section where we can go pick stuff out. I mean, Beretta has amazing clothes as well. So, I mean, that's something that has really transformed our industry and transformed, I think, all of our lives and made it a lot more amazing. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as we recognize that's the future of our sport.
So obviously you've had a long career, very successful career, but as many of us probably aspire to it and have moved on to whatever it may be, we have different plans for what we want to accomplish throughout not just our shooting career, but in our overall business career, or whatever we choose to do with the rest of our lives. So you've started to do some more things involved in the shooting sports, not just shooting. You're sitting on a few boards. I know that you're helping us out quite a bit. But what are your plans? What do you see coming out of the shooting sports, and what are your plans for the shooting sports in the coming years?
Well, I mean, I think every athlete will say that they want to do this for the rest of their lives and shoot, you know, to the day they die, and that'll probably be me. But at the same time, I recognize the legacy that I want to leave behind. I recognize that I want to help younger shooters. I want to mentor people to be the best that they possibly can be, because at the end of the day, it isn't about me winning a medal. I think that's where people forget. It's about the United States, the USA, walking away with a medal. So anyway, to help foster the team, foster youth to be successful, to fill those positions and represent our country, definitely is something that I see for my future. So coaching would probably be one of them, but as well as I'm getting more politically active. So I sit on several boards, one being the NRA. I was voted on by the millions of members, and I can't thank them enough for that position, to be able to help represent and really just show the positiveness of the shooting sports. But then the other side of that is that I was also voted by the athletes within the international world, in all shooting disciplines, rifle, pistol, and shotgun, to represent them as the athlete rep for the International Shooting Sports Federation, which is where we make decisions on how the sport is actually shot, and in the future, what do we see, like the clothing that we're going to wear, and those are some of the issues that we're just fighting for the athletes on. So definitely, I see myself much more in the political arena, fighting more on the front lines for the athletes, for the future of our sports, as well as for our country, and hoping that they can be successful. And hopefully that's the legacy that people will recognize when they look at me, much more than just winning medals.
Lanny, so I have learned some very interesting things about you just today, and about the Olympics that you competed as a biathlete. So can you tell me how, you're a three-gun shooter now, how has your experience as an Olympic athlete, as an Olympic athlete, helped you move into the three-gun side of things?
My shooting career has been very different. A lot of people call me crazy, but I just love shooting. Love the passion of shooting and the people in the industry and things like that. And I want to try a little bit of everything. And when my twin sister and I were competing for biathlon, we thought we kind of got into a level of shooting where we were as good as we could get with the tools that we had. We thought, well, we cross-trained for skiing. Why not cross-train for shooting? So we tried other disciplines to see what we could take from those to elevate our level of shooting at biathlon. And we jumped into three-gun and really fell in love with it. And we're able to take some of the things that we learned from that and transfer over to biathlon. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. And I want to go on this one right here for a second.
Oh, no.
So in '96, my twin sister and I were really big soccer players, and we were convinced we were going to go to the Olympics for soccer. Watching the Olympics, we saw this one.
Oh man.
And we're like, okay, we're going to go to the Olympics for shooting, because that was our biggest passion. We just didn't know that there were a lot of opportunities. Where we grew up, there weren't a lot of shooting opportunities. So we jumped into biathlon, and it's been
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
You know, like you guys were saying, it's incredible to grow up watching Kim, Diane, just all these incredible women that paved the way for all of us to be able to compete. I love that Kim's out there with politics and things like that, being proactive, because it's our duty and responsibility to ensure that if a girl or a kid, whoever, a young boy, if they want to do what we did, have the same opportunities, then they should be able to have the same opportunities.
And I think also being a mom, for me, I have a 6-year-old son, so being able to ensure that it's going to be around for him and for his kid's future, I think is what a lot of us at this table would want as a mother, as a family, as a parent. I mean, to be able to pass on those traditions. And that's what you find in the shooting sports. It's a lot about tradition and responsibility and respect. I mean, those things are things that are taught and passed on. And so we want to make sure it's around for our kids and their kids' kids, and so on and so forth, for many, many generations.
And I have 2 young girls at home. So,
Yes.
I always tell everybody, I get asked all the time, well, your girl's already shooting, right? They're gonna go and shoot in the Olympics. I don't care what they do. Like, they don't have to compete by any means. don't
Yes,
have a choice
they
but to
do,
learn how to
Vinny.
shoot.
Yes, they do. I'm just
They
kidding.
have
They
to know
want
how to
to.
shoot.
I want them to be able
Yes,
to.
yes. If they want to do that, then they can.
Yes.
And they need to have that opportunity.
Yes.
So being able to have a shooting community in general that's filled with like-minded people that are willing to put out their time, put out their effort to grow the shooting sports, we have to have that. If we're not growing, then we're losing ground. And if we're losing ground, then they're going to be taking it away from us a lot faster than we can build. So we have to all group together and just continue to try to build that for the next generation. So another question is, as a three-gunner, which is a totally different realm than what we could be in as a clay target shooter, how have you seen the industry change over the last 3 to 5 years?
I think it's fascinating the amount of people jumping into three gun because it's kind of an obscure sport, running and gunning, and a lot of people get addicted the first time they try it, but it's so much fun. What I love is seeing that anybody can do it. The other day I competed with an 81 or 2-year-old lady. She was out there, rifle, pistol, shotgun, and just going for it. And what I love about shooting sports in general is you don't have to have a certain body type. You don't have to be a certain height or anything like that. Anybody can do it. And we're seeing our veterans jump into three-gun matches and wheel around in a wheelchair and have fun, enjoy, and do it. And that's what I love about shooting sports is they're so welcoming to anybody and everybody. I came from a sport that obviously had two different disciplines, skiing and shooting, and being part of the ski industry versus the firearms industry. My twin sister and I gravitated to the firearms industry because of the people. I can't stress how incredible the people are in this industry. They're just, it's like one big happy family. I haven't met a single person where I'm like, I just love them all.
And I mean, we're here at SHOT Show. I don't know much about three gun, but obviously you have a lot of, you have more tools that you have to utilize when you're actually competing. I mean, for us shotgunners, we've got our shotgun and that's our tool. So the improvements in products and changes over the years, even SHOT Show. I mean, we've added floors of different products, and I think a lot of it, is helpful in three gun maybe.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I use the Beretta 1301, and like we were talking about earlier, it's amazing because it fits someone like me.
Right.
I don't have long arms. I can shoot it. Anybody can pick it up out of the box and just shoot three gun. And what I love about the camaraderie and stuff in that sport is that you can go to a match and not have anything, and by the end of the match, everybody there will be like, hey, try this out. Oh, here, I have extra of this, and you'll be outfitted and shooting and running and gunning, by the end of the match. So.
And you mentioned that 301 competition gun that you're shooting. I've shot a semi-auto forever, feels like. But I've run your 1301 just on range, just to try it. My goodness, that is a pure piece of smooth equipment. I just can't believe it. And there's actually going forward, some things that were developed on that competition 3-gun that we're going to bring introduced into the sporting gun.
Yes, I love how different sports can collaborate. That's kind of what with my background is I do so many different things. I'm a big hunter. I love that kind of thing. And so what I love about this industry is you don't have to just stick with one thing. You can try a lot of different things. I see women jumping in from competition and hey, I want to try hunting. I hear that's a great way of bringing home good organic meat to your family. You try it.
I feel like that's changed. I mean, before you were a handgun shooter, you were a rifle shooter, you were a shotgun shooter. Over the years, now it's just you're a shooter.
Yeah.
They're not putting in separate little categories anymore.
But I also think too that as our industry has developed and grown, we've reached out. We're seeing a lot more products that are more geared towards the outdoors as well. It's not just about the competition, about what I do in the Olympics or in the the different types of stuff. I mean, we're seeing products going more towards hunting, more towards houseware, more towards lifestyle, everyday type attire as well, just to show the love that we have for the outdoors. So I mean, we're seeing the industry branch out in that division as well, and take little things from what we do and incorporate it into everyday life.
You can be a skier and a shooter.
That takes a lot.
Yeah. That's impressive.
This question is kind of for everybody, and it's kind of addressing some of the misconceptions that we have. So what are some of the common misconceptions about our sport, and how can they be combated to make everyone more aware of what is truly going on in our sport?
I think one of the biggest ones is that this sport is, or the shooting industry is just a bunch of sexist men.
Yeah.
And I haven't encountered that hardly at all. It's dominated by men, yes, but a lot of the men in this industry are very helpful, willing to give you ideas and lessons on how to improve, and when you beat them, they're like, wow, that's awesome.
They're happy.
Yeah,
They're
they're
happy.
happy. So I don't see those types of things as much as the media and a lot of the other people are portraying.
I think maybe my point's going to be more like a misconception of maybe keeping a lady from becoming involved. Like, she might think that I'm not good enough.
Right.
They're not going to want me to go out and shoot with them. And then once they finally take that step and they try it, they love it, and they realize it's not even close to the case. I mean, just to add to what Lanny said, there's so many guys out there willing to help. You know, whether the information be bad or good, they're willing to help, and it's so nice. So I think one of the misconceptions with ladies would be in that area, that they wouldn't fit in, but once they actually take the plunge, they're in.
I think too, like Alani touched on it earlier about how you don't have to be a certain size or certain body type, or, you know, I mean, we have a lot of Paralympians that shoot in wheelchairs that are equally competitive and give me a run for my money every day. I'm just going to say that right now. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no set body types or body, you know, anything. I mean, everyone is on an equal playing field, whether it be a man, a woman, a Paralympian. I mean, once you step out on that line, we're all equal. And I think that's very rare in any sport, whether it be football or anything. You won't find that in any other sport. And I think that is what makes it so unique and so special, and why we have such an eclectic group of people doing it. I mean, you got the jocks, the nerds, and everything in between, and I think that's what's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of misconception is in the industry, they just kind of group people into pro gun. Oh, you love guns, you like to shoot. Well, I might be a hunter, and I might really like to hunt, but I have no desire to go shoot 3-gun, or I have no desire to shoot clay targets, or, oh, you're a shooter. Well, I just shoot sporting clays. You know, I don't hunt. Maybe people don't like to go bird hunting, upland hunting, waterfowl hunting, deer hunting. There's so many different aspects of the word shooting.
For someone that wants a personal protection.
Yes, and when it comes to personal protection and you know, those types of things, I think, unfortunately, it gets grouped together into just one category. You're either for it or you're against it. Well, there's so many aspects of that. What type of guns, and what type of ammo, and where, and when, and how, and who. And I see that changing a little bit. Like you said, with more information and knowledge being passed around and being shared with people, I think that misconception is starting to change slowly. That changes with product, you know, safety factors and availability, again, with knowledge. But I think most people say, oh, you're a shooter. Well, what does that mean, right? And there's so many different facets of it.
And I think too, there's also that educational side that you're saying. I mean, when you talk about what can our industry do to better help this situation, I mean, that is key. Education. I mean, when you go back in time and you look at, like, say, Norman Rockwell, and he had all these amazing paintings, and his paintings depicted just a normal, regular family. And when you look at all his paintings, they all have a firearm in them of some sort. Well, I mean, most people grew up in the old days with a firearm, being taught safety, being taught responsibility, being taught the lingo and the language that you find in our sport. Like when you talk about shooter or a clay target or a bird or whatever. I mean, the definitions of things from a vest to a pad to a comb. I mean, you can go through the array or gamut, but that stuff was taught. Now, the only way that you learn about it is either by somebody taking you out to the range, or you grow up in it, or you have to go online and search to educate yourself. Those were things that weren't available back in the day that are now more available in present day with technology. And I think information is key. And I think that's one thing our industry is doing, is pumping out more knowledge to people about that lingo, about that lifestyle, about those opportunities to better educate for the future generations.
As the saying goes, education is knowledge, and knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So that all lends itself into it. And something that you kind of hinted at earlier in misconceptions that I would also like to throw out is safety. For some reason, people like to think that the shooting sports, because it has an inherent danger associated with it because of a firearm, we are actually the safest sport in the world.
So does race car driving.
Safest sport in
So
the
does horse
Olympics.
riding. So
in
does
the world,
in
any
the-
sport,
any
even
of
if it's
them.
not Olympics or medals.
downhill skiing is very dangerous.
It is.
It is.
Football.
You know, so.
There's a lot of things that play into.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions.
Right.
So it's very interesting that each person has a different perspective that they can draw from, because we're in it, we're intermixed in it every day. I think that's very neat.
Yeah. And Beretta does a great job of combining all those facets, right? We all have different disciplines, and we all kind of come from different parts of the shooting industry, how we started, where we're at now. And Beretta does a great job of providing all of the products and providing the knowledge and letting us sit at a table and talk about this stuff. And coming to SHOT Show and you know, educating people on not just what they're selling, but why they have what they have and what their goals are and what they hope to see.
Well, then again, we are the part of the Beretta family.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here. And I mean, when you look at what they represent, not only as a product, but as a 500-year-old company that's been passed down from generation to generation. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I just feel very honored to be part of it, and hopefully can continue to win and do well. Right, Vinny?
Yep, absolutely. So I have one more question for each of you, and it's going to be a little quick hitter. I need you to tell me what guns you're shooting currently. So I know you're
We're at a 1301.
okay.
All of them? No, I'm just kidding. I love everything, but I shoot a Beretta DT11, just off the shelf, nothing fancy. I literally have factory chokes, and yeah, it's worked great. I average about 500 to 1,000 rounds a day with it, so no complaints.
A400 XL, which is the semi-automatic version of the sporting gun.
And I'm the DT11 as well, the DT11L. Competition play gun. It's a workhorse, like Kim said. I can put round after round after round. I know it's reliable. It balances well. It points well. It does everything I need my tool to do when I'm competing. But like you said, I have lots of guns. I love
I love all
got my
shooting.
hunting guns, and I've
You
got
make me pick
my
one.
Beretta Colt handgun, and I've got my Tikka rifle, and I've got them
confidence.
all.
You got to have confidence in your equipment, and then you can do your job.
How about you, Minnie?
I shoot the Beretta DT11 Black.
Okay.
And I've got, alright, so I have a little bit of adjustment on it. I've got the ErgoSign stock on the back, but I got it for a very specific reason. I was going through a shooting style change, and I needed to get my hand in the same spot every time. So that's what they offer with the TSK, with the DT11 Black Pro Edition. They have the TSK available, which helps to kind of take out a little bit of that variation in hand.
And that's okay. Stock modifications are fine, I think. I mean, I have a custom stock on my gun because what we were saying, not every gun fits every shape and size. So,
And the beauty of Beretta, they've got it all.
yeah,
Something for everyone.
There is something for everyone.
right.
And each gun is improving upon itself. I think in all the
Absolutely.
But
facets.
can we talk about the most important, the Beretta clothing? No, I'm just I'm just gonna say, I mean, it's amazing line.
It is.
I mean, all the way around, Beretta is always outdoing themselves, whether it be with the guns or with the clothing. I mean, it just really, the products really speak for themselves. I think everyone would agree with that. It's just amazing, and feel very fortunate to be able to test that. And I think that's one thing that they stand out on is when they are developing new products. One thing I've learned is that they come to us and ask the experts, ask the people that they're working with, the top people in the field, what can we do to make this better for the next time? And then we give them all their suggestions, and you know what? They blow us away each time with just coming out with something even more and more incredible each and every year. I mean, and that's really, I think, what makes them stand apart is they have this great way of melding not only the technology, but the 500-year-old tradition that you see. And I think they've done that very well. At least that's been my experience.
I would agree.
Beretta is a family company.
Yes.
And it's pretty neat that they have a firearm for everyone in the family. Anybody can get one. So, I think it's pretty awesome.
Go Team Beretta.
Yes.
Absolutely.